Mend Your English, Chapter 8, Metaphor and Simile. Metaphor. We all naturally find it agreeable to get hold of new ideas immediately. It is from metaphor that we can best get hold of something fresh. A good writer or speaker is master of many things in language for making his ideas lively and memorable. But the greatest thing by far is to be a master of metaphor. It is the one thing that cannot be learned from others. And it is also a sign of genius, since a good metaphor implies an intuitive perception of the similarity in dissimilars. How flat the literal is next to the metaphorical. Aristotle gives the reason, quote, "People are not much taken either by obvious arguments, using the word obvious to mean what is plain to everybody and needs no investigation, nor by those which puzzle us, but only by those which convey their information to us as soon as we hear them." Simile. If metaphor is the diamond of style, simile is its gold. Simile is really metaphor lengthened by like or as, and it ranks below metaphor because it is longer. Red as beetroot. As good as gold. You could liken his face to a lemon gone bad. But beware of simile and metaphor. They immediately show a user's brightness, dullness, or stupidity. They have three levels: hilltops, middle ground, and bog. They sparkle on the hilltops, are dull on the middle ground of cliché, and are ludicrous in the bog. All the previous examples were from the hilltops. Here are some from the middle ground of cliché. $64,000 question. The main question. Iron out the problem. Solve the problem. The sporting fraternity. Sportsman. Writing on the wall. Dire warning. Tiny tots. Infants. Staff of life. Bread. As good as gold. Excellently well behaved. Why is the last one on that list when only a short while back it was listed hilltop? The answer is that each of the middle grounders was excellent when it was used by its creator, but became outworn through too much use by others. If you were to use any of the sparklers I've recorded, you would degrade them to the middle ground if you were writing seriously. In informal writing or light conversation, most of us use cliché metaphor, but then such writing or speaking does not take us to the hilltops. From the bog. An Irish politician in the House of Commons 200 years ago.
Mr. Speaker, I smell a rat. I see it floating in the air, and if it's not nipped in the bud, it will burst forth into a terrible conflagration that will deluge the world.
A mixed metaphor is mixed when it puts incongruous comparisons on an object in quick succession. A rat floating in the air is incongruous enough. But its being nipped in the bud, a metaphor that calls up the idea of a flower being killed in the first stage of its growth, that is a memorable stew. Rule. Do not mix two metaphors so that they clash on the same object. In the following examples, the metaphors are not mixed, just incongruous. An Italian writing to an English publisher. The thought that I have sown and manured for 6 months have at last flowered into a concrete proposal. A sportsmaster. And now I speak to the rugby team. Boys will be boys, and high spirits are all very well. But when I find that tacks have been scattered over the change room floor, I, as your trainer, must put my foot down. A medical doctor speaking over SABC radio as spokesman for hospitals, quote, are going to handle accident situations on a top basis. Quite apart from its general flabbiness, that's a howler because in putting top with basis, it awakens the dormant knowledge of an educated person and reminds him that basis comes from base, which is bottom, and the idea of top, bottom with the extra connotations of handle and the sit of situations flashes an irresistible picture to the normally lavatorial English-speaking mind. The meaning aimed at was, I guess, will treat casualties promptly. 3 general rules for simile and metaphor. 1. Even if you have a good stock of original ones, be sparing with them. Generally, they make their point in isolation and are blunted when packed closely together. 2. Prepare the way for a metaphor, simile can do with less preparation, so that it comes as the final and brightest illumination. See how well Stevenson prepared you for his parchment metaphor. 3. For serious communication, prefer plain, unmetaphorical to overworked figures of speech. For example, we can be proud rather than we can hold our heads high. Do our best rather than put our best foot forward. Tell the secrets rather than spill the beans. Firmly disallow rather than put our foot down. Gradually stopped rather than ground to a halt. Very well behaved rather than good as gold. But worn simile and metaphor are now so numerous and deep into everyday English that, like lines of potholes across a teeming motorway, they are avoided only by careful attention. The rewards of such attention will be heightened sensibility and more powerful expression that on occasion may even supply you with your very own figures of speech for influencing people.